Alright guys, welcome to a classic film review of 1939's Each Dawn I Die, starring James Cagney, George Raft and Jayne Bryan. Now this was directed by William Keighley and it's the story of a news reporter who falls victim to a corrupt district attorney. This district attorney frames him and gets him sent to prison after he reports on some of his dodgy dealings. It's a film noir at heart, but it's also a fantastic prison movie and a film that doesn't get mentioned much in Cagney's filmography, which is a shame because Cagney gets to take his character here from conscientious reporter to bitter and twisted victim of the prison system and back again. Let's take a look.
Because I worked my head off to expose crime, and now I'm a convict. I act like a convict, smell like a convict, I think and hate like a convict. But I'll get out. I'll get out if I have to kill every screw in the joint.
Now that'll do.
Yeah, it'll do.
So Each Dawn I Die stars James Cagney as Frank Ross, an innocent newsman who's sentenced to jail after he's set up by a corrupt DA for the manslaughter road deaths of 3 children. After trying to probe a corruption case, the poor guy's ambushed outside of his office and thrown into a car after being covered in booze.
Look at him, stinking drunk! He's full of that stuff.
I'm Ross of the Record.
Here in your trunk. Do you know you killed 3 people?
Yes,
Now he then gets wheeled off to the clink for a 20-year sentence of manual labour with his girl Joyce, played by Jayne Bryan, and fellow reporters pledging to work tirelessly to get him pardoned and released as soon as they possibly can. And spoiler alert, it's not very soon. And the film quickly becomes a prison movie as Cagney gets involved with co-inmate Stacey, played by George Raft, who's on a 199-year stretch for being a very nasty piece of work, but who could be the key to helping the innocent man get out of jail. Now Cagney and Raft make a good duo here, the pair of them striking up an unlikely friendship as they're both men of their word, although obviously at different ends of the moral spectrum. Now I won't spoil a great mid-film plot development that features a court case come escape attempt, but it has huge implications for the plot. Now I love seeing these older prison movies. The guys here are put to work and are overseen by a guard, but the security's hilariously shoddy, allowing for the prisoners to have secret meetings underneath tables and even practice throwing homemade shivs mid-shift. So the real draw here is seeing James Cagney's hope and steely will and determination ebbing away to be replaced with something more twisted and sinister. A stint in solitary confinement flicking a switch in him, whilst also being a not so subtle dig at the prison system itself.
Haven't you anything to say?
Yes, I'd have plenty to say if I could think of anything scummy enough to call you. You sanctimonious mealy-mouthed lot of skunks. I'll meet you on the outside someday. And maybe 20 years from now, when I do.
Cagney's great in these scenes, defiant and determined not to let the system break him. Now the whole role is pretty different to the wisecracking gangster persona that you might think of when he springs to mind. In fact, Cagney's performance is pretty drastically different from what audiences have been used to. He's tough here when he needs to be, but we also get a rare Cagney sight when he finally breaks down and cries at the futility of his situation.
I didn't mean what I said. Oh, please give me another chance. I just couldn't stand it. Couldn't. I can't do any more time.
And equally good, almost, is George Raft's portrayal of Stacey. It's suitably slimy. He respects Cagney's morals and his crusade to do the right thing. The pair are almost two sides of the same coin. Even the convicted murderer shows signs of a conscience and a desire to see justice served.
No, he kept his mouth shut because he trusted you. He thinks you're his friend. He doesn't know you never heard of that kind of loyalty money won't buy. That you're just a dirty, cheap hoodlum and never did one decent thing in all your life.
Who ever done anything for me?
Frank Ross. He's doing it right now in the hole in Rocky Point.
The pair have a great chemistry together. Raft, of course, is more famous for the roles that he didn't play, turning down roles that would eventually make Humphrey Bogart the star he became. Now, in mostly an attempt to make us feel for Cagney's plight, we have his mother, played by Emma Dunn, brought in, and also Cagney's loyal girlfriend Joyce, who doesn't get much to do and is barely believable really as a love interest for Cagney, in all honesty. Now the innocent man goes to jail routine has been wheeled out many times over the decades, of course 1994's Shawshank Redemption being one of the most famous and greatest. Here we have some of the usual prison movie plot points, the sadistic guard, prisoners stabbing each other with homemade weapons, a corrupt parole board, etc. We even have a great little prison riot thrown in here that's nasty enough that I'm sure the censors would have raised an eyebrow or two at the time.
big shot. You saw what Parlor just got, so order them gates to open up and take us to the car, or I'll blow your hair all over the ceiling.
You haven't got the nerve, Dale.
Now, like I mentioned, Each Dawn I Die is a bit of an overlooked gem, even in terms of Cagney's own filmography. Cagney made 5 movies between 1938 and 1939, and this is sandwiched between more famous fare, such as Angels with Dirty Faces and The Roaring Twenties. Incidentally, Cagney also starred in another prison movie, The Mayor of Hell, which is pretty much impossible to see these days. The 30s themselves were brimming with prison flicks. John Ford's The Prisoner of Shark Island and Mervyn LeRoy's I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang spring to mind. Also, Howard Hawks' The Criminal Code, which was 1930, I think. Each Dawn I Die was adapted from Jerome Odlum's first novel. Odlum had actually served time in a prison and subsequently become a reporter and managing editor for the Minneapolis News, so him combining the two for a story seems logical. So Each Dawn I Die was directed by William Keighley, who directed Cagney in G-Men a few years earlier and would direct him a year later in war drama The Fight in 69th, as well as a couple of other films I don't think I've seen. Cayley's claim to fame, or infamy, came when he was booted off 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood and replaced with Michael Curtiz when the studio decided his action scenes lacked the necessary excitement. That's not the case here, as he mounts a worthy prison riot final act that would be echoed in future films such as Riot in Cell Block 11 and Brute Force. But in a way, he would go back to basics with his next few movies, free from a technicolor, star-studded big production and the studio interference that comes with it. He got to craft a tight 90-minute prison set film noir crime drama that not only pairs two of the great golden age tough guy movie stars, but one that also stands out during a decade when Warner Brothers were churning out around 100 movies a year. Go check it out.
Today, we honour the memory of Admiral John Harrington. This monument we dedicate is a thing of stone. Worth it cost him